we'll move directly into politics via livestock markets, right? And we're talking about how did we get here? So for starters, if you have to ask how we got here, I guess my question back to livestock industry is, how active were we in getting here, right? I'm not entirely certain where here even is. And so I feel a little bit what we're looking at, how did we get here, as though we weren't an active part of it. And I do wonder, how active were we as we came along? Recently, we in agriculture, I think, have done a pretty good job at putting spotlights on those that we aren't fond of, right? So this is a common problem in discord, particularly if we're playing in a court of public opinion, which is a very expensive place actually to negotiate standards and regulation and all of those factors. But we do tend to put spotlights on people that we don't agree with. It's not a flattering look for us to directly combat a group that has the stated intention of protecting animals that we own and cultivate, right? That's hard. It's not palatable for the general public. Often we're driving attention that otherwise wouldn't have happened, right? So sometimes if we go back and look at what really moved in news media and some of these stories about ag, it's often ag sharing stories about ag, right? With the intent to combat this from taking off. But in reality, we're helping it take off in terms of gaining a foothold in discussion and what's being talked about. There are times it makes us look happy at the misfortune of others. So I'll pick on Chipotle, right? And when we were looking at food safety questions, there were some animal ag groups that were quick to point out that Chipotle has these standards and has all these things, but was also suffering with some challenges as it related to food safety in past years. That's really hard for the general public to understand. So are we happy that this thing happened because they may subscribe to preferences or standards that others don't? It's very confusing, right? And we know that people's attention is not terribly long. And for the most part, we're looking at kind of drive-by news these days. And so people don't spend a lot of time digging into it. So anytime an industry looks happy at the misfortune of someone else, it's really difficult in terms of credibility and trust. And at the end of the day, these are our customers and our consumers that are out there. Oftentimes our attention doesn't have the intended impact, at least for some segment, and we need to recognize that at the end of the day, it's one interconnected food system.